Harriet asked me to say a little bit about RE in connection with interfaith work. And religious education, I think, is a really difficult area of the school curriculum. It's a multidisciplinary academic area. It's personal, it's contentious, it's contested. It is everything that's difficult in the classroom. And trying to bring all of this down to 5 minutes to share with you was quite a challenge. 20 years ago, I was working at the University of Wolverhampton training teachers, and part of that was interviewing people to see whether they would make suitable RE teachers. And I asked the same old questions Friday afternoon after Friday afternoon. Why do you think RE is important in the curriculum, I would say? And they would reply, because it helps people understand each other. It helps promote what we now call community cohesion or interfaith understanding. And I should think 99% of RE teachers, potential RE teachers, answered the question in that way. Now, it's a perfectly valid answer. Very occasionally, someone would say something quite different, at which point I wanted to stop the interview and say, you can have a place now. We don't need to continue this conversation. If they mentioned words like understanding or conceptual understanding, then they were in like a shot. Going on to train those teachers was also a very difficult task, and trying to enable young teachers to get their heads around how you begin to take children through that huge complexity that is religion and belief is really, really difficult. And there were a number of ways in which I tried to do that, and the simpler you make it, the better. So what you're going to get now is very simple, and it's the word CASC. West Hill College came up with a system of assessment based around concepts, attitudes, skills, and knowledge. And those 4 areas are absolutely essential in religious education, and each of them is pertinent to interfaith understanding as well. And for me, perhaps the most important is conceptual understanding. You can get knowledge from the internet, you can get knowledge from anywhere. Conceptual understanding, I think, comes through dialogue with people who have a deeper conceptual understanding than you have. And so that seems to me to be at the heart of real religious education, and the sort of education that makes people stop in their tracks and think again, reconsider, and form a deeper and better understanding than they had already. So focusing on conceptual understanding in religious education and in interfaith understanding seems to me to be crucially important. And there are all sorts of words we use that sound as if we use them in the same sorts of ways across faiths, when actually they can mean very different things, or the nuance is very important. One of the most important areas is attitudes, and Rahid's just referred to those attitudes. How you enable young people to develop attitudes, or instead of attitude, I think is really, really important. And it has to be in the ethos of a school and the ethos of classroom practice that is agreed, that is respectful, not respectful of anything. And one of the things that worries me very much is the idea that RS actually stands for respect study rather than religious studies. An undiscerning respect for difference is no good to anybody. We need an informed, discerning respect. And that those attitudes that you've just heard about openness, about curiosity, about engagement, about willingness to learn, those are at the heart, I think, of both RE and interfaith understanding. And skills are, of course, absolutely essential. And in RE, there are general skills about learning, but the most important skills are about thinking and reflection and critical engagement. Learning how to ask some very hard questions, learning how to challenge and be challenged without being offensive. And Rachel, who was our first speaker, her organisation has this wonderful 2 words, oops and ouch. You say something you didn't really mean to say, and you say, oops, I didn't mean that, or ouch, that hurt. It's just those little ways in classrooms of enabling children to say what they want to say, and of course they're going to say it clumsily, but developing those skills of dialogue and engagement are, I think, very important for all of us. And then there's knowledge, which is important, and one of the real dangers of religious education is that people think the content is enough. You learn about Islam and you'll sort Islamophobia, and it just does not work. You can learn everything you like about a religion and still have a deep bias against it, or a deeply anti-religious sentiment that underpins it. And if you're going to engage in real religious education and real religious dialogue, then you have to get beneath the language, and you've got to address the preconceptions and the misconceptions, and you've got to keep on working at those, not to make them think like you or me, but just to make them think. And to begin again and again and again to go back and think, am I right about this? Is this what it really means? And so on. And those asking of questions is important. And all of this depends on self-awareness. And it depends on teachers' self-awareness too. And that engaged journey, the word we've heard so often today, of teachers and children learning together with a spirit of humility, really. Someone talked earlier about saying, I don't know. The first time I said that in answer to a child's question, I really felt quite liberated as a teacher, and I thought, I'm actually a confident teacher now. I can say, I don't know. If I tell you the question, it was, Miss, can we do Bultmann's theory of the ecclesiastical redactor this afternoon? Said one of my A-level students. And I said, no, we'll do it next week when I've had a little bit of time to look it up and remember what I once did when I was a student. So, questions, attitudes, skills, concepts, all of these come together, and each of them has to be part of that whole package. On its own, none of them works. Together, I think they can form a very sound foundation for religious education and for interfaith understanding. And interfaith sometimes is better replaced with intercultural, because not all children have faith, and we've got to be very, very careful about that. Intercultural is more often used in Europe. And one of my favourite phrases is for children to become skilled cultural navigators. I'd like to put an inter in there, enabling children to become skilled intercultural navigators so that they and their teachers are comfortable moving across religions, across faiths, across beliefs, and being able to ask and talk and engage in dialogue and learn.